Assalamu alaikum, dear brothers and sisters. What if I told you that Allah is sending you a sign this week? A sign that your life is going to change, not tomorrow, not in a year, but this week. A blessing is going to reach you in ways you never imagined. Not because you deserved it perfectly, but because your Lord saw you holding on, even when your heart wanted to give up. Maybe you're tired of waiting. You say your prayers, you ask. You sometimes cry silently at night, but everything seems to stay the same. You look around and think, why do others receive and I don't? What's wrong with me? But listen carefully to this. This apparent silence from Allah is not rejection. It is preparation. You were not forgotten. You were not abandoned. You were simply being refined, strengthened, purified, like a seed buried underground that no one sees, but which grows in secret until the perfect moment. And that moment arrives. Yes, Allah has seen you. And this week, His blessing will surprise you. It may come through an unexpected call, a door suddenly opening, a peace in your heart when everything was chaos, or even a single word in this video that will ignite something within you. Because this message does not come to you by chance. If you hear these words today, it may be because now is your turn. The moment your heart will lighten, the moment your mind will clear, the moment you will understand that your wait was not in vain. So if you believe that this week Allah has planned something beautiful for you, write Ameen in the comments. Not for the video, not for me, but as an act of faith, a step towards blessing. And observe what Allah has in store for you. Before you start this video, don't forget to like this video as it gives us a lot of strength to continue sharing beneficial content. And I invite you to subscribe to our channel and activate the notification bell to stay informed of our upcoming publications on the Islamic faith. Share it with your loved ones and leave a comment to tell me what you think. Thank you and enjoy the video. What is a blessing according to Allah? Too often, we think that a blessing is necessarily a salary increase, a miraculous healing, a marriage, a trip, an apparent success. But in truth, these are only forms. The true blessing, the one that comes from Allah, is that which brings you closer to Him, that which purifies your heart, that which awakens your soul, even if outwardly it does not look like good news. Allah says in the Quran, "And if you count the blessings of Allah, you will not be able to number them." This means that Allah's blessings are not always measured in money, wealth, or ease. Sometimes a sincere tear in prayer is more precious than 1,000,000 in the bank. Sometimes being away from a toxic person is a protection that only Allah could see coming. A blessing is when Allah closes a door, but in reality saves you from a trap. It is when you fall ill, but this ordeal leads you to pray more, to return to Him. It is when you lose something but find inner peace. Look around you. How many wealthy people are depressed? How many married people live in a vacuum? And how many simple, discreet people live in incredible inner light? It's because they have received true barakah, not the kind you see on social media, but the kind that Allah grants to His sincere servants. A blessing can be the fact that your heart is guided, that you feel calm in prayer, that you are protected from an invisible evil, that you are surrounded by people who remind you of Allah. So ask yourself this question. What if what you're experiencing right now, even though it's difficult, is actually a hidden blessing? Share in the comments. Ya Allah, help me recognize your blessings, even when they are veiled, because sometimes what you call misfortune is actually a gift from Allah in disguise. Have you ever noticed that things sometimes get harder just before they get better? As if the whole world is closing in on you, as if you're at the end of your rope. You've prayed, you've waited, you've hoped, and yet everything seems to be stuck. But listen carefully to this. Sometimes it is precisely at this moment that your blessing is closest. Remember the night. The night is always darkest just before dawn, and it is in that silent, icy, obscure moment that the light begins to dawn. In the same way, Allah sometimes tests you intensely just before opening a door you never even suspected. So say in the Quran, "And if you count the blessings of Allah, you will not be able to number them." Surah An-Nahl, verse 18. This means that the blessings of Allah are not always measured in money, good, or ease. Sometimes a sincere tear in prayer is more precious than 1,000,000 in the bank. Sometimes Being away from a toxic person is a protection that only Allah could see coming. A blessing is when Allah closes a door but actually saves you from a trap. It's when you get sick but the ordeal causes you to pray more, to return to Him. It's when you lose something but find inner peace. Look around you. How many rich people are depressed? How many married people live in emptiness? And how many simple, discreet people live in incredible inner light? It's because they have received true barakah, not the kind you see on social media, but the kind that Allah grants to His sincere servants. A blessing can be the fact that your heart is guided, that you feel peace in prayer, that you are protected from an invisible evil, that you are surrounded by people who remind you of Allah. So ask yourself this question. What if what you're experiencing right now, even though it's difficult, is actually a hidden blessing? Share in the comments. Ya Allah, help me recognize your blessings, even when they're veiled. Because sometimes what you call misfortune is actually a gift from Allah in disguise. Have you ever noticed that things sometimes get harder just before they get better? Like the whole world is closing in on you, like you're at the end of your rope. You prayed, you waited, you hoped, and yet everything seems to be blocked. But listen carefully to this. Sometimes that's when your blessing is closest. Remember the night. The night is always darkest just before dawn, and it is in this silent, weary, dark moment that the light begins to dawn. In the same way, Allah sometimes tests you intensely just before opening a door for you that you did not even suspect. Allah says in the Quran, with difficulty there is certainly ease. Surat Al-Hinshirah, verse 5-6. Notice carefully, with the difficulty, not after. This means that the blessing is already on its way, even if you don't see it yet. But then, how do you know if your blessing is near? Here are some subtle signs. A sudden inner peace. You are going through difficulties, but deep down you feel a strange serenity, as if Allah were saying to you, be calm, I'll take care of it. This calm is sometimes the first sign that change is about to happen. Symbolic dreams. Believers often report seeing open doors, luminous faces, calm seas, or hearing invocations or verses in their dreams. These are not always prophetic visions, but they can be reminders from your soul or subtle signs sent by Allah. A sudden alignment, things, or people you haven't seen for a long time contact you again. A professional or spiritual opportunity appears out of nowhere. You hear a message in a video or sermon that speaks exactly to your inner state. These aren't coincidences, they're divine winks. A gradual detachment. You begin to detach yourself from material things or people who were holding you back. Your heart wants something else, something deeper. This stripping away is often the prelude to a divine transformation. There's a sister in Morocco who prayed for years to get out of debt. Nothing changed. She had even given up on the idea of a miracle. Then one day, without explanation, a company she had applied to a year earlier contacted her again. A stable, well-paid position, and her first paycheck. Exactly the amount she owed. She said, I thought she was ignoring me, but he just had a specific time for me. You too are being seen. And if you feel this message resonates with you, it may be because your blessing is already on its way. So comment, and then I trust you, even when I don't understand. Because your faith in the invisible is sometimes the last step before divine surprise. This is the story of a Syrian refugee woman, Amal. She fled the war with her 2 young children. Her husband disappeared during the bombing, and she found herself in a makeshift camp on the border, without a home, without resources, and without a visible future. For 7 years, Amal lived in a tent. She prayed every night, sometimes aloud, sometimes silently through tears. She simply said, Ya Allah, give me a decent shelter, even a little corner of my own, nothing more. Days passed, icy winters, scorching summers, promises of humanitarian aid unfulfilled, applications rejected. And despite all this, she never stopped praying. One day, she even said to herself, I think Allah has forgotten me. Maybe I am invisible to Him. But what she didn't know was that God's plan was moving forward behind the scenes. One day, a group of volunteers from an international Islamic association arrived at her camp. They had selected 3 families from hundreds, seemingly at random. They told them, thanks to donations collected anonymously, you will receive a house, food support for a year, and a school scholarship for your children. Amal was one of these 3 families. She burst into tears. and those words she spoke left a lasting impression on all the volunteers present. I thought Allah had forgotten me, but in fact, He was only preparing me to appreciate what He was about to offer me. If He had given me this house 7 years ago, I might not have recognized His hand. But today, I know that every moment of waiting has shaped me. This story is real. And it teaches us a profound truth. Your blessing is never late. It comes when your heart is ready to honor it. So to you, watching this video, you may be waiting for a job, a child, a sign, a solution. But what you believe to be a delay is sometimes a divine maturation. May your faith become greater than your need, so that when the blessing comes, it brings you closer to Him instead of distancing you. If this story touches you, write in the comments, "Oh Allah, I wait for you with patience and love." And above all, don't give up. Your blessing may be just around the corner. He is one of the most beautiful examples of patience and faith in the Quran. Prophet Zechariah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, was a pious, devoted man who loved Allah with all his heart. But despite this, he carried a deep emptiness within him. He had no children, and yet he ardently desired a spiritual heir, a pious child who would continue the divine work after him. The years passed, his body aged, his wife could not bear children, but he never stopped invoking his Lord. And here is one of the most touching invocations in the Quran. "O my Lord, do not leave me alone, for you are the best of inheritors." Surat Al-Anbiya, verse 89. It is a cry from the heart, a humble, gentle, and sincere invocation. Zacharias demands nothing. He acknowledges Allah's wisdom, but still opens his heart. And it was at this moment, when all human hope seemed to have vanished, that Allah answered him. Allah said, "So we answered him, and gave him Yahya John the Baptist, and made his wife fertile." Surat Al-Anbiya, verse 90. When did this miracle happen? When Zacharias was old, when all rational hope is dead, when there is no logical explanation. That is precisely where Allah intervenes, to remind us that His will transcends logic, that Allah's time is not ours, and that apparent delay is often an invisible protection. Imagine for a moment if Zachariah had received this child earlier. Perhaps he would not have felt the same gratitude. Perhaps circumstances would not have allowed for the arrival of Yahya, this pure, humble, and wise prophet. Allah describes Yahya as a virtuous, chaste, and prophetic child among the righteous. Surat Maryam, verse 13. The lesson is powerful. Allah never says no to a sincere supplication. He says either yes or not now, or better than what you ask. Now it's your turn. You may have had a request in your heart for a long time. You may be thinking it's too late, but remember, Allah's time begins where yours ends. Like so many times, like Zacharias, I keep hope in you, Yahya, even when everything seems impossible. Because sometimes it's when you let go of control that Allah takes over. And when He gives better than you could have imagined. You sowed again and again. You prayed fervently. You helped others in the shadows. You cried in secret, never cursing your fate. You worked, waited, hoped. But the fruits are still not there. And perhaps you are asking yourself today, does all this really make sense? Are my efforts being seen? But let me tell you something which you must engrave in your heart. Nothing you do for Allah is wasted. No tears, no effort, no prayer. Allah makes it clear in the Quran. It is not for anyone to receive anything except with Allah's permission. Surat Al-Baqarah, verse 245. This means that your blessing is already written. But Allah is waiting for the perfect moment to manifest it in your life. Why not this week? Why not now? What if this timing you thought was too slow was actually the best for you? Allah knows your heart better than you know yourself. Sometimes He waits until your intention is purified, until you ask not to glorify yourself or fill an emotional void, but because you sincerely want to draw closer to Him. Sometimes, too, it waits for fear to leave your heart. The fear of failing, the fear of succeeding, fear of other people's gaze. He waits for your confidence to overcome your doubts. And sometimes Allah delays something because He wants to multiply its value. A blessing received too quickly can be taken for granted, but a blessing awaited, desired, implored with faith becomes a light in your life. Perhaps this week your heart is finally ready. Perhaps your faith has reached a level where you can receive what you have long asked for, and what you thought was lost may be about to knock on your door. So lift up your faith, reconnect your heart, and repeat with hope. O Allah, if this is the week you have chosen for me, I am ready to accept your gift with gratitude. And if you think this message is for you, write in the comments. I am ready for whatever Allah has planned for this week. Blessings may already be on their way. But for them to fall into your life like a beneficial rain, you must prepare your heart as you prepare the earth before planting a seed. The first key is tawakkul, a complete and peaceful trust in Allah, not a confidence that doubts at the slightest difficulty, but a stable faith that says, even if I see nothing, I know that my Lord is working for me. Then, remain constant in prayer. Don't pray only when you are desperate. Pray as a habit of love, as an appointment with the one who can do everything. Allah says it clearly in the Quran, "Call upon me, and I will answer you," under Ruqyah, verse 60. But do not call with hesitation. Ask with certainty, like a child who knows his parent will never let him down. And above all, purify your heart. Forgive those who have hurt you, even if they never asked for it. Give even a smile, a kind word, a discreet greeting. Push aside vague intentions, pride, jealousy, resentment, because a pure blessing descends only into a purified heart. Do you want to receive? Then start by opening your hands and your heart. If you feel you are ready, if you sincerely want to welcome what Allah has in store for you, leave an A in the comments, as an act of faith, like a symbolic key that says, Ya Allah, I am ready. Fill my life with what you know is best for me. And never forget, the more you prepare your soul, the more you expand its capacity to receive. So be one of those who actively wait, not with impatience, but with the confidence and peace of those who know that their Lord forgets no one. You didn't stumble upon this video by chance. There were millions of possible contents, and yet this is the message you're listening to until the end. And maybe it's not insignificant. Maybe it's precisely the sign you've been waiting for. Sometimes you feel invisible. You think no one understands what you're going through, but Allah has seen you. He saw your silent efforts, your hidden tears, your broken heart that you stitched together with prayer. He heard every word you shared with him, even when it was voiceless. And today this message is here to remind you, you are seen, you are heard, and you are not forgotten. Perhaps this week, not in the distant future, but this very week, something will change. Not necessarily dramatically, but perhaps in a gentle, unexpected, and profoundly liberating way. A peace in your heart, an answer, an opening, a light. God's message is simple. Rise up in faith. This week, I have something for you you've been waiting for. It was as if Allah was saying, prepare yourself, my servant, for when I give at the right time and wisely. Remember, blessing doesn't always come in the form you imagine, but when it does, it brings with it clarity, direction, and serenity. So if this message touched your heart, if you feel like this video spoke directly to you, comment now. I'm ready to welcome whatever Allah has in store for me this week. And don't keep this reminder to yourself. Perhaps a friend, a sister, a brother is experiencing the same waiting, the same pain, the same confusion. Send this video to someone you love because they may need to hear this message today. And remember, Allah's plan is sometimes silent, but it is always perfect. Your blessing is coming. Believe it, welcome it, and thank your Lord when it appears. What moment touched you most in this video? Did you feel this message was meant for you personally? Tell us in the comments. We read every word carefully, and your testimony could be the light and strength another believer needs today. If you found this video helpful, please share it with your loved ones and leave a comment to tell me what you learned. Your support goes a long way in spreading the word and growing this community.